Well, I was born at Children's Hospital in Vancouver in 1946. I was adopted right from the hospital. You know, it was a good thing that I was adopted. I had really good parents, and so I'm very lucky.
Eric Mason marries Ellen Wright, and they adopt Bruce, who becomes Bruce Mason.
Well, my birth father was one of the Sons of the Pioneers. It's a country and western singing group, and my birth mother sang on the radio too. She was a musician. So I came from a lot of musicians, and their only stipulation when I was adopted was it had to be into a musical family, which definitely the Masons were, and the Wrights not quite so much, but I was adopted into a family of piano teachers and singers. So when you're little, I don't think sex is something that you think about at all. I certainly didn't. We were very innocent. Our parents never told us anything. I can remember when in high school, some of what were supposed to be the boys in the know would describe sexual intercourse. And it wasn't until I was out of high school that I realized they had no idea what they were talking about. But at the time we thought, oh my, they're really knowledgeable, well-informed, yes. But we were misinformed. I knew from a pretty early age that, and this is prior to school starting, that I was attracted to men in a different way than women. When I got to puberty and early teens, I realized that my fascination with men was really that I was going to be interested in them sexually, not just as another human being or somebody's dad or something. And so apparently I'm pretty obvious that I'm gay. And so I didn't have to worry about coming out of the closet because apparently pretty well everybody else knew I was gay before I figured it out. Back in what I would describe in Ladysmith as the redneck 50s, it was very difficult to find people who really wanted to be associated with you in school if you were openly different. And I think in a way that's the same today, not because of being gay, but just because if you're different, it's harder to find your group or your pack or whatever, and it's harder to fit in. So school was something I had to do, but I wasn't very interested in. But I didn't have any option. My parents wouldn't have said, well, you can stay home. And there was no such thing as homeschooling. And so I just was stuck going. I was physically attacked every single day that I was in junior high and high school. I was covered in bruises and cuts and burns, and I was really beaten all the time. And so I didn't have a good time in school. However, it made me, I think, who I am, and made me learn to forgive people who I decided they couldn't help how they were. For whatever reason, they couldn't change who they were. Maybe they were afraid because of their own sexuality. I don't know. Anyway, quite a few of those have become friends, and because I forgave them.
That would be reinforced by their parents and their values too.
It was a redneck town. Really, it was. I mean, people today would probably that move here must think you're kidding. You know, it's so art friendly and gay friendly, and you know, it doesn't look like the same community at all. But it was illegal to be gay then. Of course, I didn't know that because we never talked about sex, right? But when I finally was through school and working and making my own money, I could go to Vancouver and go to, in fact, it was a lesbian friend of mine that took me to my first nightclub. And you have to come with me and meet other guys that are like you. Oh, okay. You know.
You didn't find anyone else in Ladysmith then, basically.
You know, I think before me, there were some people that were there was probably quite a few guys that were gay, but they were quite careful to be in the closet. Some of them would be, like the hunters and the fishermen and stuff that weren't married, and they just go out and maybe they did it when they were out in the woods or go camping or something. They weren't, they didn't have my good fortune of being obviously gay. So they could hide.
How about your parents? Did they help you? Because you said they were aware.
Well, I guess they were aware. We never talked about anything to do with sex. My father decided, I guess they had talked about, when I was about 14, that Dad had to have the talk with me, which didn't work out too well because I was already taking biology in high school, right? So Dad, being the one that's always reading scientific things, took me aside and he said, now we need to have a conversation. Do you know about amoebas? Yes. And and he started going to this biology stuff. Well, I knew all the right names and do you know about eggs and sperm? Oh yeah, I know all about that. Still didn't have any idea what it was all about. After I would give him the correct names and everything, so you seem to know more than me. That was the end of that conversation. I never found out anything.
Sex education was over.
And he said to Mom when we came up, she said, how did it go? Oh, went very well. He said, big smile. I was so relieved for him, I didn't ask him any questions.
And Mom never broached the topic at all? No?
I found out a few years later that my father had talked to a neighbor who was a good friend of the family. And he said, do you think Bruce is gay? And the neighbor said, I don't know, we don't talk about it. He might be. And he said, would that bother you? His neighbor said to Dad. And he said, oh no, it wouldn't bother me. He said, I would just worry that he'd be happy. Mm-hmm. And that was it. And And that was a real concern. There must have been times when you came home from school in tears. Oh well, I tried to hide it, but it was pretty obvious. I had all these injuries all the time, they learned to not ask because it's obvious I was just getting pummeled to bits. But, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? And I am so grateful that now gay kids or kids that are transgendered or in some way different from the more dominant norm can be accepted for who they are. Ladysmith is unrecognizable from what it was like in the 60s. Mm-hmm. I think the people that I went to school with, almost to a person, have obviously come to terms with other people that are gay. And don't seem to have any problem with it. One of my main tormentors died, and I saw him the day before he died, and he hadn't spoken to me in years. He said, I want to say something to you. He said, I was very confused when I was in high school, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I'm really sorry for what I did to you. And I said, well, that's all right. I'd always said hello to him afterwards and stuff, but he was always kind of shy to speak. And he said, I just want you to know. He said, thank you for sticking around. He said, you're the bravest man I know. So.
Not a bad compliment.
Yeah, he died the next day. His best friend said to me, boy, you got that just under the wire.
When I listened to you talk about growing up and the painful physically and emotional pain that you went through, and you came from a bright, literate family, the opportunities were there, but you've never left. I feel that this is home. I've lived in a couple of other places, but I feel very connected to Ladysmith. I feel connected to the area. And an awful lot of my friends are here. And I don't feel at home anywhere else. So
you know?
Now, is that because Bruce Mason has changed, or is that because Ladysmith has changed?
You know, when you're different, you kind of stand out. But that doesn't, and, you know, I'm kind of like, I may be gay, but I'm this town's gay guy, not just a gay guy, you know? So there's a kind of belonging. I mean, my friends that are here, a lot of them aren't gay, although there are a lot more gay people moving to town all the time. But I'm sort of theirs and they're mine. And it's a very nice feeling. When I came out, it was still illegal, you know, and when I first went to clubs in Vancouver, the police could come in and beat everybody up and nobody could do anything. So it's, young people have never experienced that and I think they were quite surprised to hear that there's somebody still alive from the dark ages when it was that illegal for gay people. It was the dark ages. And it was only the people like me and like drag queens and stuff that were kind of public and obviously different, and that sort of were standing out there and making the point that you could be different and still be acceptable. What is really kind of unique about small towns is that if somebody's openly gay in a small town that people have grown to know, then you're their gay person. They can still hold a grudge or hold suspicion against those gays in the big city that they don't know. But you're different. They'll say, oh no, you're okay, you're different. You know?
It's almost like you're Ladysmith first and gay second.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Yeah.
And so it's easier, I think, to be, if you want to hide, it's easier in the city. But if you want to be open and accepted, there's nothing better than being gay in a small town and being open and being accepted for who you are and how you are, and still cared for and not persecuted.